This is the chilling tale of Bagman, a human who bears a ghostly appearance. Known for his horrifying acts, he kidnaps children, earning his name from his sinister habit of stuffing his victims into a bag. Once Bagman sets his sights on a child, their fate is sealed, as no one escapes him alive. In this story, Bagman is after another child. The question looms, can the family protect their little one, or will the child fall prey to Bagman's deadly clutches? The film begins with a tender moment between a father and his daughter, enjoying time together in a quiet location. However, the girl seems unusually troubled, which does not escape her father's notice. Concerned, he gently asks, "What's wrong, my dear? You seem worried. Even your mother thinks something's bothering you. If there's anything troubling you, please share it with me." The girl hesitates but finally responds, "I'm just anxious about my past, but I believe I'll be okay with time." Her father nods understandingly and suggests, "All right, go wait in the car. I'll get us some pizza to cheer you up." As the girl approaches the car, something eerie happens. The streetlights flicker wildly before plunging the area into darkness. Fear grips her as she realizes her father is taking too long to return. Summoning courage, she decides to check on him at the nearby pizza place. Upon entering the dimly lit, deserted shop, she stumbles upon her father lying helplessly on the ground. His body is severely injured, and he appears paralyzed, unable to move or speak. Overcome with fear and confusion, she doesn't have time to react before Bagman appears. The terrifying figure seizes her and shoves her into his infamous bag. The moment he zips it shut, the girl's life is tragically snuffed out. Fast forward 4 years. We're introduced to a happy family, Patrick, his wife Karina, and their young son. They live peacefully, their days filled with joy and laughter. One day, Patrick's brother and Karina's sister visit them, as they often do. Patrick, a woodworker by trade, proudly shows his brother a new machine he's invented for cutting trees. "This machine will save us time and effort, making our work much more efficient," he explains enthusiastically. Impressed, his brother praises the invention, saying, "This is incredible, Patrick. Everyone will love it." Meanwhile, Karina catches up with her sister, and the family enjoys the evening. As night falls, the visitors bid farewell and leave. Later, as Patrick takes out the trash, strange things begin to happen. The house lights flicker ominously, and eerie sounds emanate from the nearby woods. Curiosity overtakes him, and he ventures into the forest to investigate. But he finds nothing. Unnerved by the silence and darkness, Patrick begins to feel an unease creeping over him, as though someone or something is watching. The next morning, Patrick heads to the company he co-owns with his brother. The company, established by their late father, now runs under their guidance. Patrick and his brother supervise the workers, overseeing the day's tasks. As they work, Patrick's brother shares his troubled past. "Ever since Dad passed away, I've been having disturbing dreams," he confides. "But somehow, I've learned to cope with them." Patrick, on the other hand, is engrossed in his latest project, a wooden owl he's carefully carving with a knife. Over the years, he's carved numerous wooden animals, a craft his father taught him. Once his brother leaves, Patrick is left alone with his thoughts. He reflects on his childhood, remembering a time when he visited a cave near their home. It had been a bustling site for excavation, but work had long since stopped, and no one had entered the cave for years. One day, while standing near the entrance, young Patrick witnessed something that shook him to his core. A man emerged from the cave, holding a pair of scissors and trimming his hair with them. Terrified, Patrick fell to the ground, but the man simply retreated back into the cave, leaving Patrick to flee in fear. Back in the present, Karina is at home, playing with their child. But as she becomes absorbed in her laptop, she loses track of him. The child, following a doll, wanders off toward the jungle. Soon, Karina realizes her child is missing and frantically begins searching for him. Panic sets in as she combs through the house, only to find no trace of him. Determined, she heads into the forest. After a tense search, she finally spots him. Relieved, she scoops him up and heads home, guilt washing over her for leaving him unsupervised. That evening, when Patrick returns home, Karina tells him what happened. Just as they're talking, the lights in the house flicker again, just like before. Patrick is puzzled by the strange occurrences but dismisses them. Later, as Patrick works on his own project, carving a doll with a knife he's been perfecting, he receives an email from a major company denying him a loan. Furious, he slams the knife down on the table, snapping it in frustration before tossing it into the trash. Then, from his son's room, Patrick hears an odd sound, like the child is talking to someone. Rushing to investigate, he finds his son alone but is told, "I was talking to the doll." Confused, Patrick searches the room but finds no doll. Still unsettled, he puts his son to bed. As he leaves the room, the lights flicker once again, making Patrick uneasy. He heads to his own room and gazes out the window at the darkened forest. A feeling of being watched creeps over him. Grabbing a baseball bat, he steps outside and calls into the woods, "Whoever you are, stop hiding and show yourself." But no one emerges from the trees. Just as Patrick begins to wonder if it was all in his mind, Karina and their son come outside. Patrick, now more alarmed, urges them to go inside quickly, sensing that someone or something is lurking nearby. They endure the night, but when morning comes, Patrick calls the police. He explains everything, and soon, officers arrive to search their house and the surrounding forest, hoping to uncover whatever strange force is haunting them. Despite a thorough search, the police find nothing unusual. However, when they inspect the roof, they discover scattered pieces of wood. Patrick, puzzled, asks, "How did these get up here?" "I threw them away earlier." The officer takes the wood as evidence and, handing Patrick his contact information, warns, "Stay alert. If anything else happens, give us a call." After the police leave, Patrick resumes his work, but something doesn't sit right with him. He checks the garbage again and finds a wooden owl he carved as a child, an object he doesn't remember retrieving. Confused, he asks Karina, "Did you bring this owl back?" Karina, equally baffled, replies, "I've never seen that owl before." Patrick's mind races, trying to understand how his childhood toy has reappeared in his life. To make matters stranger, the knife he had broken and discarded is also missing. Karina, noticing Patrick's distress, mentions, "Our son constantly plays that flute of his, and it's making it hard for me to concentrate." She hands the flute to Patrick, asking him to hide it. He places the flute in a box, then spends time playing with his daughter. Meanwhile, their son, while in the bath, insists on having the flute. Patrick, feeling uneasy, heads to the warehouse where the box containing the flute is now stored. As he leaves, their son is alone in the house. This is when the bagman strikes. He quietly opens the window and begins to creep toward the bathroom. But something feels wrong to Patrick, and he rushes back to check on his son. Karina, hearing her child's voice, also hurries over. Fortunately, their son is safe, though he claims, "I saw a doll here." Patrick, still concerned, can't find the flute anywhere. He even checks the garbage in case it was accidentally thrown away, but it's gone. At a loss, he heads to bed, trying to calm his nerves. Later that night, his phone alarm goes off, signaling something is wrong. Patrick checks it but finds no issue, except that the shed door has been opened. He heads outside to close it, only to spot a doll lying there, wearing a cap from his childhood. This sends a chill down his spine. As he steps back into the house, Patrick is horrified to find all the windows and doors locked tight. He's locked out of his own home. Peering through a window, he sees the bagman inside. Terrified, Patrick smashes the window, hurries inside, and rushes to his wife and child, determined to protect them. He searches the house but finds no one. Though the house is empty, Patrick's fear is palpable. The next day, he calls the police again. The officer suggests installing CCTV cameras around the house. "Has anything gone missing?" the officer asks. Patrick replies, "My son's flute. He plays it all the time." The officer reassures him, "Don't worry, we'll be monitoring your house from now on." But Patrick's unease doesn't fade. The tension is building, and he knows something sinister is lurking just beyond the threshold. Patrick couldn't make sense of what was happening. Why did his problems seem to be multiplying every day? He finally confided in his brother, telling him, "All those things I used to joke about in my childhood, they're coming true now. Even my childhood cap has somehow appeared. But I have no idea who is behind all of this." That night, Patrick was restless. As he slept, nightmares plagued him, visions of the bagman taking his son away. In his sleep-induced confusion, memories of his own childhood resurfaced. He remembered a day when he and his father went to the same cave. His father had warned him, "They say there's a bagman in that cave. No one has seen him, but he kidnaps children and takes them away." At that young age, Patrick had dismissed his father's warning. "You're just trying to scare me so I'll study and behave," he had said. But his father replied, "I'm not scaring you, son. I'm telling you the truth. The bagman takes good children, those who listen, do their work, and are well behaved. I know you're a good kid, so just be careful." The vivid dream ended with Patrick waking in a cold sweat. Desperate for answers, he called a mental health specialist to visit their home. After examining Patrick, the doctor explained, "You're just sleep-deprived, Patrick. Lack of rest is making you see things that aren't real. For example, in your childhood, you drew a strange man, someone who didn't exist. This was a product of your imagination. You've been fixating on it, but it's not real." The doctor reassured Patrick, "You just need more sleep. But if it helps, maybe you should consider moving to a new house. That could give you a fresh perspective." Patrick and Karina liked the suggestion, so they decided to spend a few days at a hotel. They arranged for their son to stay with Karina's sister, hoping the change of scenery would help him as well. At the hotel, as Patrick and Karina settled in, she asked him, "What happened to you in your childhood? Why were you so scared of the bagman?" Patrick sighed and told her, "When I was a kid, my dad warned me about the bagman. I was terrified, and one day he gave me a knife. He said, 'Keep it with you, son. The bagman could be around. If you lose this knife, he won't leave you alone.' And now, here I am without that knife." As they spoke, Karina's sister was on the phone in another room, while their son slept soundly. Suddenly, the lights in the hotel flickered. Startled, Karina went to check on her son, who was perfectly fine. But then, the doorbell rang. When Karina went to investigate, she was horrified to find the bagman at the door. Seeing him, Karina's sister was paralyzed with fear. In a panic, she quickly grabbed the child, trying to keep him safe. She attempted to call for help, but everything seemed to stop working. Realizing she had no other choice, she grabbed a knife and hid with the child in a closet. But the bagman soon discovered their hiding place. He lunged at Karina's sister, and in a desperate attempt to save herself and the child, she managed to strike him and escape. Moments later, Patrick, Karina, and the rescue team arrived at the scene. Karina's sister, though shaken, had only minor injuries and was quickly bandaged up. In response to the danger, Patrick made the decision to take his family to his brother's house for safety. Once there, Karina reassured her sister, "You don't need to be afraid. I'm with you." But Karina's sister remained terrified. "That man was unlike anything I've seen. When he grabbed me, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. But thank God, the knife helped me save us." With a baseball bat in hand, Patrick vowed to stay awake and protect his family. He now understood that the bagman was after his son. But Karina, trying to ease his fears, told him, "There's nothing to worry about. We're safe here with your brother, and the police are outside. Sleep peacefully." Though Patrick reluctantly agreed, he couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Just a few minutes later, as Patrick checked his tablet, he saw that the bagman had reached his son. Panicking, he rushed to his son's room, only to find that the child was gone. In the next room, he discovered the tragic scene. His brother and his wife were dead. When he stepped outside, the situation grew even worse. The police officers had been killed as well. It was clear that the bagman had done all of this alone. Determined not to lose his son, Patrick believed the bagman had placed the child in his bag. He followed the trail, which led him closer to the cave. The darkness was overwhelming, and Patrick was unarmed. As he neared the cave, he heard his son's voice calling for him, "Dad, please save me." With newfound resolve, Patrick ventured into the cave, where he found candles flickering and scattered nests filled with children's belongings, items the bagman took from the children he kidnapped. In one of the nests, Patrick spotted a bag that resembled the one his son had been carrying. As he opened it, he heard his son's voice coming from inside. But when he looked inside, to his horror, he realized that his son wasn't there. Patrick, deceived by the doll, grew even angrier. In his fury, he smashed it. Meanwhile, Karina and her sister managed to find their son and quickly called the police. Patrick, still deep inside the cave, was shouting, "Whoever you are, why don't you show yourself?" As if on cue, the bagman appeared. He grabbed Patrick from behind and pulled him with alarming force. The bagman, resembling a ghostly figure, had a bag with him. His cold touch paralyzed Patrick, leaving him immobile, helpless, and lying there in fear. By the cave's entrance lay the knife that Patrick had once broken and thrown away. To his astonishment, it was there, just out of reach. With great effort, Patrick managed to grab the knife and held it tightly around the bagman's neck. Nearby, Patrick spotted the flute, his son's favorite toy. He grabbed it and tried to escape, but the bagman was relentless. The monster chased him down. In a desperate attempt, Patrick hurled the flute outside the cave. But the bagman wasn't far behind. He grabbed Patrick by the mouth and lifted him off the ground, forcing him into the very bag he had used to carry other children. As Patrick struggled, the suffocating weight of the bagman's grip crushed his bones, causing immense pain. In the end, Patrick succumbed to the bagman's power, his life ending in the suffocating darkness of the bag. Just as this tragic moment unfolded, Karina arrived outside the cave with the police. Spotting the flute, she understood that Patrick must be inside the cave. A group of officers quickly entered, searching for him, but they found nothing. It was then that the haunting truth of Patrick's childhood came to light. His father had warned him about the bagman long ago, explaining that the creature only took the most beautiful, innocent children, those who caught his eye. Once a child's hair was cut by the bagman, he would mark them as his own, following them even as they grew older. As a child, Patrick had been chosen by the bagman. The creature had been watching him, cutting his hair, and waiting for the right moment to take him. Even though Patrick had grown up, the bagman never stopped hunting him. The bagman's target had never been Patrick's son, it was always Patrick himself. And so, the creature finally took him. With this tragic twist, the story concludes, leaving us with a somber ending. With this, the movie ends. If you liked this video, then do not forget to subscribe to the channel after liking the video.